Midnight Drearies.
In a hidden corner of the city, nestled behind the towering walls of a nondescript laboratory, unspeakable horrors were concealed from the world. Deep within this clandestine facility, the relentless march of scientific curiosity had taken a dark and twisted turn, leading to a fateful experiment that would defy nature itself. The subject of this chilling tale was a monkey, an unfortunate creature marked by a handwritten tag on its cage, EXP 570. In the sterile dimly lit corridors of the laboratory, the monkey had no name, it was merely a specimen, a test subject. For the purposes of this story, we will call this tortured animal X. X's tormentors included the malevolent lab assistant, Peter Jordanson. A sinister aura dripped off of Jordanson like acid rain splashing down from the clouds of Marlboro smoke that surrounded him, a man whose cruelty knew no bounds. The heavy stench of cigarette smoke clung to his clothing, and his frequent smoke breaks served as brief reprieves from the horrors he inflicted upon the captive X. The laboratory, with its ominous buzzing fluorescence and cold steel fixtures, was a place of unspeakable suffering for X. Day by day, he was subjected to a barrage of painful experiments, pumped full of experimental drugs with no hope of reprieve. The boundaries of ethics and humanity had been long discarded in the relentless pursuit of knowledge. But in the midst of this abject misery, a remarkable transformation was taking place. The experimental drugs, instead of breaking X, had an unforeseen consequence. They elevated his intelligence to a level comparable to that of a human being. X's eyes, once filled with despair, now shimmered with the spark of newfound cognition. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, X silently observed his tormentors, biding his time. He knew that survival depended on his newfound intelligence and his ability to exploit the weaknesses of those who had wronged him. One fateful day, when the laboratory's cruel inhabitants were at their most vulnerable, X seized his opportunity. Jordanson, ever the chain smoker, was engrossed in his addiction. He stepped outside for yet another smoke break, leaving the keys to X's cage hanging carelessly on a hook. With a dexterity and intelligence born of desperation, X reached through the bars of his cage, snatching the keys, and silently released himself. The culmination of abuse, suffering, and torment had honed X into a creature of vengeance. X knew that Jordanson would return from his break, and so he planned his retribution carefully. Climbing atop a refrigerator in the laboratory, X concealed himself, his heart pounding with anticipation. The coldness of the steel beneath his paws mirrored the icy determination that fueled his plan. Moments stretched into hours as X waited in silence. Finally, the sound of Jordanson's heavy footsteps grew nearer, accompanied by the familiar click of a lighter. It was then that X saw his chance. Jordanson paused to light a cigarette, and in that fraction of a second, X lunged. A beaker of flammable liquid stood on a nearby table, and X's fury surged as he tipped it over, dousing Jordanson with the volatile fluid. Panic washed over the lab assistant's face, but it was too late. X, now in possession of the stolen lighter, flicked it to life with precision and ruthless determination. Flames erupted around Jordanson, transforming him into a living inferno. The agonized screams of the burning man filled the laboratory, but X remained unflinching. He had exacted his vengeance upon the one who had made his existence a living nightmare. The flames danced like sinister specters, casting grotesque shadows on the laboratory's cold, metallic surfaces. But X's retribution did not end with the lab assistant. The taste of power, of taking control of his own destiny, had intoxicated him. With an eerie calm, he proceeded to create several Molotov cocktails using materials readily available in the lab. The unleashed intelligence that had been a result of the cruel experiments had now fully awakened within him. X was determined to cause chaos, to turn the tables on those who had subjected him to unspeakable torment. He hurled the Molotov cocktails into corners of the laboratory, watching as the fire spread and the containment measures crumbled. The blaring alarms filled the air as thick, acrid smoke billowed through the facility. X, now unchained and unstoppable, raced through the inferno, the laboratory's secrets becoming kindling for the fire of his vengeance. He was no longer a mere test subject, he had become the embodiment of retribution. X opened the cages of the other test monkeys and set them free. He jumped atop a chemical closet and opened the window above it. The other monkeys all fled to safety. The facility's personnel, disoriented and overwhelmed, scrambled in a futile attempt to contain the inferno. But their fate was sealed, their cruel experiments and their abuse of X now leading to their own demise. As the fire raged, consuming not only the physical laboratory but the twisted souls of those who had wrought such horror, X vanished into the night. With every heartbeat, he ventured further into the darkness, his newly acquired intelligence guiding him toward an unknown future. So if you ever see a monkey with a Molotov, I'd run if I were you. And remember, smoking kills.